contaminated fish flesh that was added to chicken feed, and the chickens ate the PCBs, and it wound up in the meat and in the eggs. People are getting concerned. They say, don't let unsafe food put our lives at risk, for good reason. And these are episodes of contamination by animal-based foods. And so many of your friends who during the year get the flu, it isn't the flu, it's salmonella poisoning. The media has been fairly responsible in trying to educate us about the realities, the dangers of our high-fat diet. I'm very appreciative. It brings you to the same position that was reached by Gregorio Natividad, who is a meat inspector in Los Angeles, who worked there for 23 years. And he said, based on my experience in Los Angeles, my advice to the public is not to eat meat. This is a meat inspector watching it for 23 years. Maybe he knows something we should pay attention to. Here's another reason why I should consider changing our diet. Our kids are eating a lot of fat, and it is hurting them. Our children in North America are fatter than ever before, and their cholesterol levels are higher than ever before, and we are seeing heart attacks in younger and younger people. Don't kid yourself. A heart attack is not something that falls out of a tree on you at age 50. This stuff builds up in your arteries from childhood. And every year on this continent, 1,000 teenagers suffer strokes. 1,000 teenagers a year suffer a stroke. John McDougall is one of them, by the way. We are seeing fat-related disasters haunt our children. And researchers at Louisiana State University clearly say we should decrease the amount of fat we are feeding our kids. Here's USA Today announcing that study, recommending we lower the fat contents of our children's food. We are working actively to work in the schools to help get fat-free entrees onto the cafeteria line. High blood pressure, nasty disease, and it leads to strokes and heart attacks and kidney failure. Why do people get high blood pressure? Well, one way to view it is to consider the analogy of a garden hose. If you have a garden hose with a certain diameter and you have water flowing through it, there's going to be a certain pressure in that hose. What if you wanted to raise the pressure in the garden hose? Well, there's two ways to do it. One is to make the hose narrower. That will raise the pressure. The other thing to do is put more water through the hose. And that will raise the pressure. Well, that's exactly what happens in our arteries. As we eat the standard North American diet and that fat builds up in the arteries become narrower, and so that raises the pressure. And when you eat sodium, as in table salt, sodium makes you retain water in order to dilute it out. And the more sodium you eat, the more water you pump around, and that's going to raise the pressure in your pipes. Guess where by far most of the sodium is found in the North American diet? In meats and dairy products. Sodium is in the muscle of all animals. All meat has sodium. Chicken, fish, meat, it's in the muscle of the animal. And the second place that sodium is found is in cow's milk. That mother cow wants to give her baby calf lots of sodium because it's expanding its blood vessel as a growing calf should. And by far, meats and dairy products have more sodium than any other substance in our diet. And if you really want to decrease your sodium content, decrease the meats and dairy products. And I tell you, people, if you are being treated for high blood pressure and you are still eating cheese and eating chicken, you are kidding yourself. And no wonder the doctor is going to raise your amount of diuretics and Aldomet and all those other medications. You really want to open up your arteries and decrease your sodium content. Stop eating all that cheese and milk and animal products, and you'll find your high blood pressure takes care of itself. I don't want to be too simplistic about it. There are other severe causes of high blood pressure. It's a complicated disease. It's not the only cause of it. There are kidney reasons. There are other reasons, and you should work with your physician. Tell them you're changing your diet, and you don't stop those medications by yourself. You work with them. But if you stay in communication with a physician, it is possible, changing your diet, to taper down those medications. And I've found numerous times the doctor better taper down those medications because as people change their diet, reduce the fat and salt, the potent medications we have them on become too strong, and people start passing out when they stand up. It's important that the doctor tapers down the medication. So tell him or her that you're reducing your sodium content and work with them. You'll often be able to get off your medications or at least substantially reduce them. Premenstrual syndrome, PMS. Whoever thought that had anything to do with diet? Certainly does. When a woman eats animal fats, again, that substance prostaglandin 2 is released in her body, and prostaglandin 2 makes the uterus constrict, it makes her retain fluid, it makes her get irritable. Premenstrual syndrome. I can't tell you how many women in my practice, when they've eliminated the meats and dairy products for other reasons, for blood pressure reasons or obesity reasons, a few months later they're walking out of the office and say, you know something, by the way, my PMS went away. My last 3 periods haven't bothered me at all. Isn't that amazing, doctor? No, it's not amazing. The lady stopped running fat through her bloodstream and changed her prostaglandin balance, and her body's a lot happier. These conditions that I'm telling you improve with a vegetarian diet. I'm not trying to say it's a panacea. I think the opposite situation exists. Why do we have all these diseases? I think it's analogous to pulling into a gasoline station with your car, and instead of pulling up to the gas tank and putting a gas pump and putting gasoline in your car, you pull up to the diesel pump and you put diesel fuel in your tank, which is kerosene. Now, kerosene is too oily. And what happens? You drive away and there's black smoke coming out the tailpipe, and there's crud building up on the spark plugs, and the engine runs rough and it stops. And you get towed back into the garage, and the mechanic asks you, what are you burning in for fuel? And you say, well, kerosene. And he says, well, I have an idea. Why don't you try gasoline? And you put gasoline in the car, oh, works great. Oh, the black smoke disappears, the engine hums along, and you think about the mechanic and say, oh, he's so smart. He's not so smart, he just told you to put the proper fuel in the engine and it'll run fine. Similarly with us. Animal fats are too oily, they're too greasy, they stick to us, they clog us up. Your body cells burn carbohydrates. Your Krebs cycle enzymes burn carbohydrates. We burn sugars and starches. That's what you want to run your body on, not animal fats. Which brings us around to the Seibu Lions of the Japanese Professional Baseball League. More and more world-class athletes are realizing that our body cells burn sugars and starches, not fats. And if you are an athlete about to run a marathon or play tennis or basketball, it is just irrational to sit down to a big T-bone steak and load up on fat and protein. That's exactly what you don't want. You want carbohydrates. And training tables around the world are springing up with fruits and pastas before a match, and that's really what athletes should be eating. Seibu Lions finished in last place in their league in 1981. Their coach put them on a vegetarian diet. The next year they came up, beat everybody in the league, and took the league championship 2 years in a row. There are now vegetarian weightlifters, and Andres Cowling, Mr. Universe down in California, is a vegetarian. James Donaldson, the big 7'3" in center of the Dallas Mavericks, is a vegetarian. There's marathon runners that are vegetarians, cyclists, tennis players. You don't have to eat a bull to be as strong as one, that's for sure. We need a higher viewing of nutrition altogether. The one that we've been given simply isn't working very well. We need a higher viewing. What is the higher viewing? Well, let's talk about the one that isn't working very well. If you learn nutrition like I did, you learned it off this silly poster that hangs in grammar school walls all over this country. And it essentially says that food comes in 4 groups and 4 groups only. It comes in the milk group, in the meat group, in the fruit and vegetable group, and the grain group. And you better have some of every group every day, or you risk becoming sick, malnourished, or dead. Subtle message, but it's what the kids are given. It's what I grew up with. Maybe it's what you grew up with. People, let's get real about the basic 4 food group scheme. It was not, repeat, not, handed down to Moses on Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments carved in stone. The basic 4 food group scheme was invented by the United States Department of Agriculture in 1956 to promote the sale of meat and dairy products. What do you really need to run your human body? Nutrition 101. What do you really need? You need 5 things. It has nothing to do with cheeseburgers and milkshakes. The human body has no nutritional requirement for animal flesh, none. And it functions superbly on a balanced, varied diet of plant-based foods. 5 things you require. Protein, water, vitamins, minerals, and energy. That's what you require. You need a little bit of protein, 30 grams a day. It abounds in grains and legumes and fruits and vegetables. That's no problem getting enough protein. You need 2 quarts of water every day. That's found in the water you drink, the juices you drink, the fruit and vegetables that you eat. That's no problem. You need vitamins and minerals. They are found in green and yellow vegetables. Have a nice salad every day, a couple of carrots. You get all the vitamins that you need and all the minerals. We'll talk about vitamin B12 in a minute. Even that comes from plant-based foods. And you need energy to fire your muscles and make your nerves work. But energy is found in the sugars and starches that are found in fruits and vegetables and starches, and oils that are found in whole grains and avocados and vegetable oils. There's plenty of energy available. That's all you need. Protein, water, vitamins, minerals, and energy, and a little bit of fiber to keep the intestines working normally, but that's an automatic if you're eating whole grains and fruits and vegetables. That's all you need to run your human body, and all of these are found in plant-based foods. You never have to eat an animal if you don't want to.